Hello and welcome to the 76th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined by a man who makes fat stacks of cash, my brother Rob.
Yes, going into the deadlights.
Oh, yeah.
With my fat stacks of cash.
I know what that means.
Pennywise.
What's happening?
Oh, gosh.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
That's good. I was thinking, how about we make some cash right here at the beginning of the show?
All right.
And here's what I was thinking. We got an untapped market, geek romance novels.
That is an untapped market because I didn't even know it existed.
Exactly. There isn't any such thing. And if you think about it, you got all those books with Fabio on the front with his shirt off.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, why don't we freestyle some passages? I don't want to give the whole thing away, but some ideas, brainstorm a geek romance novel. And I'll go first. I was thinking something kind of like, it could be called like Talk Nerdy to Me, maybe?
Sure.
As an intro. And then it would be something like, he saw her face reflected in his Star Trek commemorative plate. Okay, now go ahead. Add something to it.
Her glasses as thick, if not thicker, than his own.
Beautiful. Her hands slowly traced his sunken chest.
I don't want to do this anymore.
The smell of bagel bites on his breath.
Fresh computer smell coming from her.
Yeah. The smell of the air duster can, the compressed air.
Wow.
The compressed air can blew her hair back. There you go.
They touched with a sudden static jolt.
As his mother softly ironed upstairs.
Oh my god.
What kind of music should be playing during this?
Mario Brothers.
The Mario theme song. The Conan the Barbarian soundtrack. Softly played. His bootleg Charles in Charge DVD, word in the player.
I can't go further with this. I don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to go too far. We don't want to give it away. That's the thing, you know?
Yeah. Let the anticipation build.
As much as the romance would. I think there's money to be made there. That's all I'm saying.
I think we've proven our point quite thoroughly.
So look for that. Hey, let's go ahead and get into geek news. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about, I think, BioShock 2, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that came out of E3, and honestly, so much of that I can't even absorb it all.
Yeah, but we passed over BioShock 2, and I think we've addressed it a lot before. I'm very skeptical. You know, I'm like, this doesn't need a sequel, but you saw something recently that you were excited about.
Well, yeah, what I was excited about was that the developer stressed that they are looking to explore more philosophies.
Right.
Philosophy was one of the huge reasons why I love the first BioShock.
Oh, yeah.
Because I literally left that game looking at the real world differently.
A lot of people think BioShock's really just a shooter, but it's about the story, and that's why I'm skeptical of this next game, because it looked like a cash-in kind of thing to me.
Yeah, and so that's one reason why that news is exciting to me, is because it's not so much of a sales pitchy line.
Yeah. Well, I did want to clarify real quick that we've said before it's a prequel, and in case people don't know, it's actually a sequel.
Right, yeah.
And I guess Rapture's just collapsing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's more to say. You know, that's my whole question. It's just... Somebody was saying big sisters and what's next, like little uncles. You know, I mean, it's like,
yeah. See that right there sounds like cheap type of stuff.
Yeah,
That's like you've seen the world of the big daddy. Now let us show you the excitement of the big sister.
But have you seen 2 Darth Vaders?
Oh my goodness, 30% more costumes.
Darth Maul is 50% shorter than he used to be after his accident.
Now there will be 5 lightsaber combat.
See, that's the thing. That's the Lucas strategy. Was like give Grievous 8 lightsabers. But yeah, so we can hope that they're going not more, but smarter, different, deeper.
Yeah.
So any clues in there before we move on?
Well, a lot of it is about like power play and things like that. The big daddy.
What does that really mean?
Well, yeah. But who they are and sort of their relationship to the little sisters.
Right.
Like their family. So betraying family.
Right.
You know, if you make the choice to absorb them or whatever.
Right.
You know, a little more intense than just being the original guy.
Yeah.
So.
And the last boss is biggest daddy, and on his shoulder is littlest sister. It's like... That would just make me cry. At this point, I don't want to play this game that much. You know, I hate to keep hammering on it, but like, they're gonna have to show me exactly what you're talking about. If there's some sort of trailer that's like reveling in the story of it, I will perk up.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, I would rather hear that than
Yeah.
hear, that you're going to have 18 more guns.
Exactly. So I wanted to talk about Just Cause 2. It's a game that I totally brushed over last week. Didn't even think about it until I saw this 10-minute walkthrough video, which I just showed you. And I'll get your impressions real quick. Just how did that look to you? It's an open world thing.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Mercenaries.
Yes. Which is a good thing in my book.
Yeah. Very lush graphics, kind of, the Far Cry look. You know. Beautiful graphics, yeah.
Yeah, just to describe it real quick, the guy free falls off the top of a skyscraper, pops out a parachute, and when he's free falling, it really looks like he's got a good sense of control.
Yeah.
And then he controls his parachute, and he whips it over, and he lands spot on the top of a speedboat, drives the speedboat into a base, pops the parachute out again, flies up over the trees, machine guns down. I mean, it seems like it's very free in terms of how you get around, and it seems like this has been a mechanic that has been happening a lot more. Things like Bionic Commando and Mercenaries, which I was a big fan of. And this game has a zip line that lets you grab and then drag yourself towards something. You can even attach it to people.
I mean, open world games are definitely starting to get to this point where, like, the hard gum is starting to soften, and now you can chew on it. So most of the problems have been solved by the big guys, and now there's kind of freedom to play. So that's kind of what I see going on here.
Yeah, I play Mercenaries 2 all the time with my friend Ryan, and we just constantly look at a problem. Okay, here's a bunch of guys standing around this base, and then we take it our own way. And that's the most exciting feeling, is whenever you're like, okay, you jump in the Jeep, man the turret on the Jeep. I'll lift the Jeep with the winch from the helicopter, and you'll shoot down while the Jeep is swinging beneath this helicopter.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that where the game gives you like all of the freedom to do that stuff. It's like physics playground is basically what I'm getting at.
I mean, absolutely. I feel like some people, like these open world games, like it was cool to go open world, but they still feel tethered down by reality, and they can do that anyway. But it's like, wouldn't it be great if I could just fly over that building? That'd be nice,
Exactly.
I am kind of interested in what they do, like, because on one end, you could say, well, it's better than Grand Theft Auto because it allows you to do all these amazing things. But on the other hand, Grand Theft Auto has so much going for it in terms of story.
Right.
For example, playing Crackdown, it wasn't like Grand Theft Auto with superpowers. It was this superpower game where I can just run around and blow things up, but it felt shallow, and that's the one thing I'm maybe concerned about with a lot of these games, is it going to be shallow? Is it going to be...
Totally. I mean, I will answer that right now. Yes. Yes, it will be. And that's the beauty of it. That's what I'm telling you. Saints Row makes no attempt to really have a deep storyline. It sort of does, but... It's like a menu system for like chaos, just pull this up, do that. Pull this up, do a demolition mission, Yeah. And I so appreciate that, especially as my time dwindles. My leisure time is so much shorter nowadays than it was when I was younger. And it's like story games are great, but this looks like, right up my alley.
Definitely. And it's something else I think that people are starting to get a grasp on is just because a game is open world doesn't mean that the game itself has to suffer in terms of progression.
Right.
That's cool to see, just as far as gameplay philosophy, that they're finding ways to make it more linear despite the gameplay being non-linear.
Yeah. So let's move now to our main topic of discussion. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to talk to you about this because we were going to do something else, and then you called me on Saturday and said, I know what we're talking about this week. And I said, what? And you said, I just got a Palm Pre.
Yeah.
We've been geeking out about this since CES, and you totally went out and got one. So let's get your first impressions. I want to first ask you about the line, because you actually did the line thing.
Yeah.
In my head, I wouldn't expect there to be a crazy line for this, but... tell me real briefly about the line, and then also what you paid for it when you walked out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting experience because I found out the night before, like, there was leaked inventory from Best Buy, So I found out what Best Buy was getting, and turned out that they were getting 2 devices. Not 2 boxes, not 2 shipments, 2 Palm Pres.
Right.
And this is a major Best Buy, like the King of Prussia area. It's one of the largest shopping complex in the country.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
And I was just like, what?
2 units. Yeah.
And so I drove past Best Buy and noticed there wasn't any line.
But that must have been exciting because you and I have been talking about it like crazy.
Yeah.
And, it's always nice whenever the rest of the world is kind of asleep
Yeah.
on something. I remember we bought Windows XP the day it came out, and I walked into the store, and there was nobody there who even knew. And I was like, this is a significant upgrade,
Yeah.
and nobody's here. I mean, that's nerdy, but hey.
I know, and even still, like, a lot of people aren't really aware, like, the general population of what the Palm Pre is or things like that.
Yeah.
I kind of plotted out, like, all right, Radio Shack opens earlier than anything, so I'll go there first. Walked in, just kind of a hairy guy behind the register. I'm like, did you get the Palm Pre? He's like, no. And then I'm like, okay, see ya. Drove up to Best Buy, about 9:30. They open at 10. There was a line of exactly 2 people out in front of Best Buy. I hung out for a bit. And then a guy walks out with the vouchers, hands it to the first 2 guys, and says, that's it, we only have 2. Now, there was another guy in line who was just psycho-hopped up on something, driving 50 miles an hour in the parking lot to get to the door, but still, like, unshowered, and just like, you guys have it yet? Okay, you know what, they have it over at the Sprint store, let's go over to there. And it's like, he was just like, all right, and I'm like, okay, man, calm down.
But, we have a local Sprint store that looks like it's dead all the time.
And that's where I did head. I went to the Sprint store at the mall.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is always dead.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
May blessings be heaped upon you.
Summertime allergies, folks. But there's a bunch of people in the store.
Right.
And a guy greeted me, and I'm like, you have the Palm Pre? And he's like, yes, we do.
Sweet.
Like, really casual. I'm like, do I need to sign in or anything? He's like, nope, we got plenty.
That's cool. Okay, so I want to know what you paid for it when you walked out, because we made a big deal before about the price. There was going to be an instant voucher at Best Buy. I assume you didn't get that.
I didn't. I paid the Sprint cost, which was the $300 price. And actually, the rebate I found out is through Palm.
Right.
$70 data plan, everything data. It has everything included.
Okay.
Also, a $7 a month protection plan. So everything was cool. Like, that's what I expected, and that's what I paid.
Okay, so this is a new phone, but it's also an operating system.
Yeah, it's called WebOS.
It will be on other devices. I know AT&T has already talked about the Palm EOS, which they're going to be getting, that has the same operating system. But let's first start with this hardware. Talk about the feel, like physically in your hand.
Feels great. It's designed actually to work closed. You can think of it as like an iPhone, but with a slide-out keyboard if you need it.
Right.
It's a curvy phone. I know some people talked about sharp edges.
Yeah, there's a video right now on Gizmodo of somebody cutting cheese with the edge of the Pre, but that's when it's open. So
yeah.
How's the keyboard? How's the typability?
Typability is great. I am a T9 guy. I use a lot of like the number pad thing, and I got really good and fast at using that, and I was worried about the typing on this keyboard, but it turned out to be really easy to use, and I can type as fast, if not faster.
Yeah.
I have big fingers, but you can feel a distinct difference between one key to the other. They're not all flush with each other.
Right.
They're actually rubberized.
Oh, okay.
They're not hard plastic as they sort of appear.
So you don't slip off of them.
Right. They have a good grip. You can even, I was pointing out to somebody, it has a dual function because not only does it help with typing, but if you're holding it by that keyboard, it gives you a little extra grip.
Yeah. How would you compare the physical keyboard on this to the iPhone's on-screen keyboard? A lot of people are making that comparison.
I like having a physical keyboard better. I mean, as a preference. I know, Apple's going to start pulling, you can get Korean keyboards now.
Yeah.
It's yeah, but you still can't feel it.
What about battery life? Have you had a chance to run it through its paces that way, or are you still...
Yeah, it offers about a day's worth of battery life on normal use. I'm not trying to use it sparingly or anything. The screen brightness is set to about a quarter brightness. I mean, it is a really bright screen if you want it to be.
Awesome.
The battery life is great. The battery is removable.
Nice.
You can easily pop off the back and pull out the battery if you need to. And
yeah, they talked about the wireless charging station. It's like a hockey puck.
Did you get
that with? Yeah, did you get that free with it, or is that like an accessory?
No, that is a $70 accessory.
Okay,
but
I did hear that it charges really slow, so it may not be worth the money. But
yeah, I mean, it was sold out whenever I got there, but they did have it on display. And it's really cool. I mean, just for people who may be thinking about getting it, it's not just a charging thing.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you called me and my phone's ringing and it's set on the touchstone. I just pick it up, and then that's the cue for it to answer the phone.
So it sounds like you're pretty impressed with the hardware so far. There's not a lot of complaints that you have then about the actual hardware itself?
No, I'm actually really impressed by it. It has a nice big speaker on the back. The camera has a flash, which you don't get a lot in a lot of phones. The audio port on the back is a full-size 3.5-inch audio jack. It's not the 2-inch or 2.5 thing. And then to go into silent mode, there's just a simple switch on the top, and you switch it to the side, you'll feel it vibrate. That way you know it's silent. It's not this whole hold down the pound key for a second or something.
Right.
There's a shoulder button that turns the screen on or off really easily.
Sweet. So it sounds like you like the hardware. Let's get into the software then. I want to first ask you about learning curve. Because this is a brand new OS, basically, and I've heard it compared to a computer a little bit because it multitasks, and it's got a lot of applications and things. How long did it take you to get used to it?
You know what? I found myself getting really into it really fast. In all honesty, there is a learning curve, but Palm really did a great job of having a good tutorial to lead you through everything.
On the device or paper?
On the device. When I started up the device, the first thing it taught me was the back gesture.
Oh, okay, great.
Using the gesture area, teaching me how to go back.
Yeah, go into these gestures for a quick second. Are there a lot of them? And in terms of learning curve, are there a lot of gestures to learn, or are they just swipes? Or
no, I mean, using the gesture area, let's see here, there's the back, there's a gesture that can pull up the application menu.
So why would I use the gesture area rather than touching on the screen? I was still confused about that.
For one thing, it frees up space on the screen.
Oh, okay.
There doesn't always have to be a little button in the corner to push to launch everything.
Oh, I see. So this takes the place of the back arrows and that kind of thing.
Exactly. If you want to go back on a web page, you just swipe back rather than having a back arrow.
Okay.
And a lot of other things, let's say I input text into something and I want to say okay. Rather than, something on the screen, I just push down in the gesture area, and that accomplishes that. Now, that being said, there's a lot of ways to do what you want to do with the phone, so you're not restricted to simply knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
But that's a kind of faster way to get things done if you need it done.
Right. So there's a good feel, basically, to the operating system, you'd say?
Yeah.
It feels cohesive, it's designed by a single person, not
a
series of...
Exactly. It was definitely designed by a lot of people because it's very powerful.
Right, but how the iPhone feels like it's all the same mind, it's stylized. It's not like Comic Sans on this page and then some goofus other thing.
Yeah, iPhone has a very kind of candy feel.
Right.
The feel, like I said, it's kind of organic,
Sure. What other features do you like about the OS?
Here's something worth saying. I mean, this comes with a GPS, and Verizon will have our phone comes with a GPS. You can use that. You have to pay them additional money to use their service.
Right.
Sprint, on the other hand, they have Sprint Navigator, but that's free, and that's cool. A GPS thing. And then they have Google Maps. Bam, right there.
I have heard that the Google Maps on the Pre is better than the iPhone Google Maps.
It's very possible, Probably some people are wondering, with web surfing and that, how does it hold up? It holds up just as well. It has multi-touch. If you want to go around the website, you can just put both fingers. You can pinch and expand and stuff. That's something that Android didn't have. Android only had single touch for a lot of the main releases there.
Right.
And one thing that I really want to point out here, the keyboard is a integral part of the operating system. Let's say I want to, call you. I just pop the keyboard open without touching anything else, start typing in Brad, and then out of all my contacts, it'll pull your name up and other Brads that are in there, and there it is. Bam, I push on it, and it's good. Also, while typing that, it'll give me the option do I want to search Google for Brad? Do I want to check Maps for Brad? Do I want to email Brad? Synergistic stuff that they're really pushing with this phone.
Awesome.
I had no problem getting phone numbers onto this phone because I simply synced it up with my Facebook. put in my
Oh,
Facebook
nice.
thing and it searched all of my Facebook friends, got their email addresses, and if they listed their phone number, it got their phone number, and it also got a picture of them from Facebook.
Oh, that's good.
I know that there was some complaints about people being like, "Oh, well, now my phone's filled with people I don't know." Stop befriending people you don't know on Facebook. And second of all, the contacts list isn't just like your immediate contacts. This is a directory.
It's like a web directory. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is this as an MP3 player and a video player? Have you had a chance to mess with that stuff?
It doesn't have Flash support, so a lot of video content on the internet isn't really supported on here. However, it does come with its own YouTube app.
Yeah, sure. Just like the iPhone, no Flash support, YouTube app. But what about importing your own music?
Yeah.
I heard that you could just drag the files on there and it recognizes them. It doesn't have any goofus like trouble sorting it.
Yeah, actually, it pops up like a USB drive. You plug it into a USB port on the computer, and you can just drag and drop it right in there. I haven't sought to really put a lot of music on here. Part of the reason being that this phone, as one of its primary applications, has Pandora.
Yeah, how is that working out, by the way? Is it?
Well, I'm loving it. Like, I have all my stations, and if I'm in an 80s mood, I pop on, Foreigner radio. And
that's what you call it.
Then it starts playing that, and like I said, 3-inch earphone jack on there, so I can plug it into the auxiliary port on my car. And I'm driving down driving around, listening to Pandora. And if I like
that's almost the goal. You realize that. That's like nearly what I want to do. It just has to be on-demand stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they could just make it so I choose the artists through Rhapsody. God, all they need is like a Rhapsody button.
Yeah, they have an Amazon button.
Oh, okay.
Amazon MP3 is one of the default stores.
Does Amazon stream? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
But if you're streaming Pandora, you got to be able to stream any artist that you want,
yes,
you would think.
The technology is there. Like, it exists.
Oh, it's so close.
It's just a matter of somebody saying, pay us a subscription fee, and now you can search for that specific song.
Yeah. Well, we got to wrap this up, but it sounds like you're impressed with the software and the hardware. Mm-hmm. Just for full disclosure, I have to say that the reviews that I've been gathering online tend to criticize the hardware a little bit. They think that it could be better as a phone, but it sounds like you're not having any of those problems. However, everybody admits the OS is really good. You're going to see that OS in a lot more devices. Like I said, Verizon actually leaked that they're getting the Palm Pre.
Can I say they didn't leak anything? That was a tactic for Verizon to keep their customers.
Yeah. Okay.
And
perfect.
Sprint immediately was like, no, like they're gonna get the Palm Pre in maybe a year or 2 years. Like it's
Limited
about as soon as Verizon's gonna get the iPhone.
Right. Yeah, which I think will happen eventually as well. But so yeah, if you have to have it now, you got to go with Sprint. Real quick. Last thing, how is Sprint in your area? Calls, quality, internet connection?
Sprint has so far been great. The coverage map that they showed me is really good, very rich. Where I live, has data and voice and everything.
Philadelphia area.
Yeah, everything is coming through. As long as you're not in the boonies, if you can expect to get cell phone reception where you're at, you'll get it.
Sweet. Yeah, I've heard good things. Sprint's a good network. Your mileage may vary, but so awesome. Well, I'm excited to try this thing out. Next time we get together, I got to use this. I might even roll down to the Sprint store and see if they can let me.
They got some demos set up, so
oh, dude, I got to play on one.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you, Rob, for your impressions. And before we close out the show, we always like to get a little nostalgic and reminisce about growing up geek. And I was thinking, by the time this episode goes up, the digital transition will have happened. Analog television signals being shut off.
Yeah.
People who have analog TVs will need to buy a converter box to be able to watch TV over the air anymore. And it got me thinking about how after this digital transition, there's not going to be a whole lot of analog left. And let's pay some respects. What will we miss about analog? Maybe not a lot, but I'll just open that question up to you. Kind of broad. Cassettes, Betamax, VHS, you name it.
Well, I think staring at a staticky screen and pretending that you see something in it.
Yeah.
Because you never really know.
You were always better at that magic eye than I was, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why. Like, I can just adjust my eyes instantly to that kind of thing.
Yeah, the staticky screen, like, people, I think I see a leg, that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like, is that Scrabble? I think that's Scrabble,
Yeah. We used to have a golf tee jammed into the top of our television that would keep the signal on. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because it reached in and pushed the button.
I mean, some of that stuff like works. Like I attached foil even to my digital tuner back in the day, and I boosted the signal a little bit. It was kind of wild. But yeah, I'm gonna say mixtapes.
Oh yeah.
I actually made a mixtape for Amber when we were friends. And it was kind of one of those misleading things where we were just friends, but some of the songs that had like, semi-romantic messages. And so she was like, he's speaking to me,
And then other ones that are like, girl, go away, stop playing these head games.
Yeah, I mean, I make playlists now and post them online, but, just something cool about giving somebody, here's a mixtape,
Absolutely. I mean, and then you're always trying to like catch the song on the radio, but the DJ is like at the tail end, always kind of coming in or out.
Yeah, Live 105, click. Yeah, I used to have two going simultaneously, just trying to record Jump by Crisscross. And then I would do the thing where I would get it, and then I'd want to get it again because I could just listen to it 2 times. Mm-hmm. Betamax, our grandmother actually had a Betamax player, and I remember watching The Dark Crystal on Betamax over at her place. I don't know if you remember that.
Dark Crystal was the thing at Grandma's house.
It was like the only movie that she had. Pap had Aliens, or the Alien movie, as he called it. He's like, come over.
Taped off of HBO, I think.
Come over and I'll let you watch an Alien movie. He also did this thing where, I don't know if I've told this story before about Terminator. Mm-hmm. Like, he would show us all these movies, and I'd be like, well, Dad doesn't want us to see Terminator. And I remember there was a part Dad didn't want us to see where Arnold beams in and he's nude.
Yeah.
And Pap was like, naked man. You see that in the shower every day.
Very moral man, our grandfather. Just,
yes. Loved the Alien movie. He's a truck driver.
Exactly.
Did you ever have a friend that had like a little player, like a rewinder?
Shaped like a race car or something?
Yeah, or like the Batmobile.
That was an interesting like invention, It's like, well, I know your VCR can already rewind, but this thing really rewinds.
Yeah, was that thing any faster?
I think so.
It's like you just put it in, there's like, Let me ask you this, as a music guy, and you have lots of musical contacts, do you know anybody who's big into analog, like who prefers like record sound? I know some people are real obsessed with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, especially with records, because sound is an analog thing. It's waves traveling through the air. With digital, you just have a sequence that kind of means that, and then it interprets that.
I've always thought that was kind of bull, though, like the whole "it sounds better" thing. Do you buy into that?
I believe
the records?
It. Well, yeah, I believe it because even CDs, they have a set number of like hertz. It's like 44.
Yeah.
To almost anybody, that's fine. But for the real audiophiles out there, the guys who just their ears have to hear that everything. You've done the thing where you take like the pencil and the piece of paper and the funnel and you just run it over the record and you'll hear the sound. You don't need it to be interpreted by a microprocessor or anything like that. So that's why DJs use it, and that's why like it's still really cool.
Are they still releasing albums on vinyl?
Yeah.
Like,
there's actually a vinyl record store right down the road from where I live, and they
pretty good selection and everything.
Yeah, I walked in there, and the day I was there, they had Metallica's Death Magnetic on vinyl.
Oh wow, okay.
So
there you go.
It's there.
Yeah. So, when you talked about audiophiles,
yeah,
I was reading a home theater magazine, and they were saying, of course, the human head does dampen some of the sound. And I was thinking, well, how are we supposed to get around that?
Yeah.
Like, what is the ultimate audiophile experience? 2 ears sitting on a stool in front of a speaker or something, like disconnected from your head?
I think if you're hearing sound, you're used to hearing sound with your head being there. I don't think you're going to have a problem with that still being present in the room.
There you go. We're going to leave people with those wise words. Yeah. And hey, if you grew up geek like us and you would like to send us an email, you may do so. Our website is growing-up-geek.com. And as always, you can follow Rob on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGRob. So that's going to wrap it up. Once again, my name is Brad. Oh!
That's right.
Show off.
See you later.